Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Paodcast, presented by the Daily Pao.
This is Pranati,
Amit,
and Purva. And we're from a website called The Daily Pao. We're a Bombay-specific city culture and food website. And this is our fortnightly podcast, and it's called The Paodcast. So on this episode of the Paodcast, we're just gonna give you a quick heads up on what we're gonna talk about. So Amit, do you want to say what we're gonna talk about in Bombay Binge?
So in Bombay Binge, we have a special crossover segment with the guys behind The Adventures of Cheap Beer, who are going to be talking about bar snacks and what you should eat at dives.
And in the scene, we're going to tell you a bit about how you can do a design trail in the Kala Ghoda and Kolaba area. And finally, in Metro Station,
Amit and Pranati they ventured on a night walk through Kamathipura. So they're going to tell us what that experience was like.
So we'll be back with Bombay Binge.
Bombay Binge.
Welcome to the Bombay Binge. This is the third turn where I'm being replaced by a guest or somebody else from the Daily Pao. So this time we have the boys from
The Adventures of Cheap Beer.
I knew it.
We were destined for failure immediately.
Already
And they
gone
always
downhill.
thought that we would be the problem, you know? And it just all turns
I
back.
blanked very quick. Okay, that was just pardon that.
Yeah.
So we have the Adventures of Cheap Beer with us, and there are three amigos. There's Suyash, who's they'll intro themselves in a bit. There's Suyash, there's Karan,
It's going so badly.
and there's Siddhant. Okay, and basically we're dubbing this episode Gourmet Meets Gourmet, and you'll know why. These boys are gonna take us through their best. They review dive bars, and they're gonna tell us the best food across these bars.
And the reason why we're doing this actually is because we were on their podcast.
So we're just returning the favor.
A crossover special, and we're going to play a little bit of that episode, which will explain what gourmet meets gourmet
is
all about.
Right. The winning dish, guys, and I feel like this is why this corner should be called the cheese naan garlic. The cheese garlic naan corner.
Cheese naan garlic corner.
Yeah.
One sec, let me guess.
Is the cheese
garlic
naan.
I was going to say cheese naan garlic.
It was
Tonight on GCN.
The GCN network.
The GCN network presents.
It was swimming in a pool of butter. It was cheesy. It was semi-crisp, and it was
delicious
soft in its core. It was so good.
No, it was soft core.
So good, guys. Come on.
I enjoyed
what do you
it.
guys
So
need?
garlicky that
Help me out
vampires
here.
would die.
Agree with
Yeah,
me.
as somebody said that it had the perfect garlic to cheese ratio. I think that was you,
Yeah,
Suresh.
I said it was perfectly 50-50 between garlic and cheese.
Yep.
You so rarely get to see that.
No,
Yes.
In
you
the
don't see
wild?
that. In the wild,
don't see that,
You know, when
no.
we hunt and we gather
And
our
find
cheese
the
garlic
cheese
stock
naan,
for the winter.
And we're like,
Yeah.
this is a shitty proportion of
Yeah,
garlic and
yeah.
cheese. And then you go to a restaurant like this and you're like, this is
Well
perfect.
done, restaurant.
Yes,
Well done.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So to all the bars out there, the lesson to learn is that you should have
No.
exact
Strike that from the record.
proportion
No,
of
it
cheese
isn't.
and
I will
garlic
not
in your
file it.
naan.
That was perfect. I will not file it.
No, hang on.
That was perfect.
I cannot agree when Karanagar agrees. And that is a pun
That
too
was
far.
superb.
A pun too far.
Are you going to pun whale?
I think I have met a fellow punter. And
Though you cannot see this, but there has been a shake of hands across.
So I'm going
They
very
sat
badly.
on it.
This,
Oh my
This
God.
is a complete disaster of a section. We let puns happen with Karan around and he didn't even make one.
It was
And
the
most
best
of the
section
food-
of your podcast.
And
That's
most
true.
of the food was rated well, so it was just bad from the start
Yeah,
to
because
end.
the
I
whole
dissed the
idea of
coleslaw.
Karan's
I
Masala
said
Corner is
don't
that
get the
it's so
coleslaw.
bad it's good, but Purva's Masala Corner has flipped this around.
This is gourmet meets
Yes.
gourmet, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gurmeet
So-
meets Gurmeet. Catch the podcast on Savan coming
Yes.
soon.
Welcome to the Adventures of Cheap Beer.
Welcome to the Adventures of Cheap Beer
on the Paodcast.
Yeah.
With me as always is Karan Agarwal over
Hello,
here.
hello.
And Siddhant Mehta.
Hello, good morning.
And I'm Suyash Barve. And we're all sober today.
Yeah, that's so
which
strange
is weird.
to actually see you in daylight. It's
We're amazed to see each other in daylight. Actually, we're not. Sometimes we go home at 6:30, so that also happens.
That is
well,
kind
at
of
this
daylight.
time.
But it is surprising to
guys.
see their faces in full focus.
Yeah.
Not drunk, not hungover. Fantastic.
So is that how you look like all the time?
Yeah, I think this is the first time we're meeting sober. I know me and Sid met at a wedding once when we were both sober. That was the one time.
Yeah. Then we
But-
weren't sober after that.
Yeah, of course not.
Correct.
It's many firsts for them.
Was that
Suyash
Karan's wedding?
He didn't even show up for that.
Yeah.
Guys, we're clocking this at 15 minutes. Stop interrupting.
So, yeah.
Many
Wow,
firsts
there's a
today.
time
Suyash was
restriction.
on time.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll let him lead. Suyash. Okay, so what I'm going to ask all three of you is your best bar foods and the weirdest stuff you'll have eaten. Y'all can be unanimous or not. That's fine. And then we'll get to more questions later.
Okay, I think overall, and I think Sid will definitely agree with me. I don't know about Karan. Karan has a different one, but I think the best overall bar food I ever ate was Akshay in Parel.
Seconded, actually.
Yeah.
I
Right?
think
Tell us
that's
why.
a unanimous decision right there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Akshay is famous for its seafood. It's a Parel joint. It's a great looking bar as well. It's air conditioned, nice sofas and shit. But also the bombil fry, I don't think you can beat it. I don't think we've had better bombil fry than that
Really
place.
better than Ghazali's.
Well, in the cheap bar universe.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
We're playing the lower leagues of lower leagues.
Where we can't really sit around
Gurmeet,
comparing to
we're
Mahesh.
Gurmeet.
Gurmeet.
You know,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get a German Shepherd walking around the place in Gajali.
Yeah.
You know,
It's Bruno.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah, his
this is
name's Bruno.
Akshaya.
That's
Yeah.
Akshay Bar.
Yes.
You said Akshay.
Yeah, you don't say
Akshay.
It's the A
Oh,
side.
No one says
oh,
Akshay.
Django
Yeah,
these.
I've never heard any of the waiters say Akshaya.
No, it's Akshay.
It's just
Yeah.
spelled like that.
Yeah, it's just spelled that.
But yeah, there's a German Shepherd who watches over the place.
Yeah.
Great,
I think even
okay.
more importantly is the Thai food that they make.
Yeah.
That is excellent.
Random Thai menu, no reason, no explanation.
But
Love it.
but that's interesting. A lot of these places have sections and subsections which you don't expect in which brings me to one of the worst things we've ever eaten
Right.
was at this bar called Navik Bar in Andheri East, and they had a sizzler section. And if
That's
anyone,
the worst everywhere.
well,
Yeah.
maybe so.
Yeah.
But what we end up doing in Karan's Masala Corners is ordering the freaks, as we like to
Karan
call
a
them.
little bit suicidal.
Yeah, tell us about Karan Masala Corner.
So Karan was suicidal back last year, and he said, "Well, let me do this and slowly kill myself over the course of this podcast." Karan,
Well, it's when you go to a bar and you look at the menu, and especially in quarter bars, there's a lot of stuff you see which you've never seen before. They're usually kebab dishes named after women. That's a common trend that we've noticed. We
Like,
recently had an Urmila
Lakshmi
mutton
tikka.
kebab or Lakshmi tikka and other such things.
Right.
And so we have to order them because who will if we don't stand up for these.
Even firecrackers
known-
are named after women, like Lakshmi Bomb. What the hell is that? Anyway,
It's a band.
Yeah.
But
It wouldn't sound the same if it's called it
He
Gaurav
had
Bomb.
to do it.
okay, but I have a slight objection here because when we asked you to do a post for us on the 15 best bar foods, you did not recommend the seafood at Akshay. You recommended the red pepper coconut chicken.
Yes.
The Thai section.
I was actually writing that. And I like that more than the bombil.
So it wasn't a unanimous decided.
That is no, but we unanimously agreed that was the best thing
of
also
the thing.
of the
But
Thai
if I was going to say
food.
in general, what you should order at Akshay is definitely the seafood. It's a seafood specialty place.
I will say the prawns koliwada there, for instance, is very good.
Yes.
Very, very good.
It's pay attention to this section because Karan's Masala Corner usually disses bar food. That's the trend on Karan's Masala Corner.
No, the
Yeah.
idea
No,
is that
let me-
the worse it is, the better, right?
No, let me
Yeah,
put it this
well,
way.
the best of the
okay.
segment is.
We
Karan-
order all the things that are unique to that bar,
Right.
And then these two diss Karan's Masala Corner.
Oh,
That's
forcing
the
us
bar
to
is
do
never at
this.
fault.
No, I mean,
No, the bar is often at fault.
He orders something. It is usually dross, garbage, every kind of synonym that can be
not
applied
fit
to
for
it.
human consumption.
Terrible
Doesn't
for
belong on a
you.
menu.
Right.
Should not get a
even
health
the
food
cook
rating.
or the chef or whoever behind there thinks to himself, who is this guy? Why has he made me pull this out of the menu? I am going to do a half-ass job. at this.
usually it starts with the waiter going, I don't think we have that. No one's ever ordered that before. And we're like, can you please check in the kitchen?
Karan has a whole prepared conversation
Right.
about how to handle the waiter who's reticent to take this order.
You know what's amazing is that all these bars have all these specials, right? So there is creativity on every level, which is
We're all
fantastic.
for finding the
Chefs
creativity
get
and
drunk too,
encouraging
guys.
it.
Yeah.
Chefs get drunk too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tell us, like, what are your parameters for, like, what you'll obviously seek out the weirdest stuff on.
Yeah,
the,
but I want to know, if you don't, like, you clearly go for the weird stuff, but if I want to go to a bar and actually eat because I'm hungry and not because I'm doing a podcast, what are sort of the golden rules of ordering food at a dive bar?
But here's the thing, and that's actually that point kind of solidifies the reasoning for our picking up the weird stuff. Every dive bar in Bombay has practically the same menu. It has masala papad, peanuts, crispy chicken, chili chicken.
Yes.
So it's
Choli
multi-cuisine.
vada.
It's all multi-cuisine,
Or
or
kebabs.
Every bar
No,
has
it's usually
the same,
those,
like,
so those few
range.
things.
Chinese
Triple
There'll be a
cheese, one
kebab
fried
section.
rice.
There'll be a Chinese starter section.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't go to main courses really. We stick to bar food.
Yeah.
And there'll be the snacks, which are basically your peanuts and papads and things like that.
Yeah.
These three are pretty much every bar.
Or
has
if you're
all
at a
that.
coastal type style bar, you'll get surmai fry, rawat
Yeah.
fry.
But why do you guys use the crispy chicken as like a gold standard by which to sort of judge a place? Because that's something you'll
It's also,
always
we do that mostly
look at.
because of the price, so that you get an idea of the price of the food. Because we have the prices of the alcohol, but we don't really mention the price of the food unless it's exorbitant or a really expensive dish. So we keep the crispy chicken in there, so you know, okay, the price of
So
the
that's
food here
like
is around
how
this
you
much.
do like...
No, but also we found that if a bar does crispy chicken well,
Yeah.
it tends to do everything else
Exactly.
reasonably
Exactly.
well.
That's the other
Because
thing.
crispy
Yeah,
chicken
yeah.
is tough
That's
to
a
crack.
Very
Yeah.
Stuff to
interesting.
crack.
To
Yeah.
get it crunchy and to get the chicken well done, if you can do that
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
you're
And the
rest
batter
is
to
solid.
chicken ratio,
Yeah.
and the red and the color, getting it, not too much color.
Yeah,
but
it should be
looks-
glossy. It should
To
be a
get
light
the
sauce. of its
color
own.
on the damn thing
Yeah,
is such a
that
problem.
also.
So many times you
Did
get
you just
like,
say the chicken should be glossy?
yeah.
No, I said not glossy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
not
No,
because
because
not
we've
toxic
had
red.
chicken where it's its own light sauce. Like you
Yeah,
could read
that's a
next to
problem.
that thing.
But sometimes
Oh.
you get it where you can see the batter coating,
Yeah.
but there's no color on it. So there's
Right.
and there's red on the other side of the chicken.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's just
Okay.
like, can you just get this evenly done, please?
So that means
Is that too much to ask?
You know that if the chicken crispy is not great, then you might as well. You know how
Well,
this is
yeah,
gonna go.
You know how it's gonna go.
yeah.
But if you want a safe bar food bet, like a safe bet in chicken, always go for chicken 65. I have not yet
Oh,
had
okay.
bad chicken 65 in a
That's
bar.
a good tip. That's a
That's a
portrait.
portrait right there.
Portrait.
okay.
These guys are also sober today, so
Yeah.
that's why
So-
there's so much.
There's clarity.
That's
There's so
what
much
makes sense.
coherence. So much
sense
coherence.
and, yeah.
But we had asked you guys in November to do a post about the best bar foods in the city, and you gave us 15 places. And I'm going to quiz you on this in a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm sure you've been to many more bars since then. So what are some of the additions that you would put on that list in the last 6 months?
I think the latest place that we went to that was really, really good in terms of food was New Punjab. That we just went to like 3
That was in
episodes or so
Matunga.
ago. Yeah.
That was actually
that was-
on your list.
Episode 25.
No, New Punjab was not on
It
the
was.
list.
Punjab happened in
It was,
April,
and
so-
if you wanted me to start the quiz in advance, what was the best thing you had there?
At New Punjab.
At New Punjab.
This is probably Barve's tip, that's why. Because this is his from the blog. That's the other thing. So this whole podcast starts from Barve doing his blog. And he went and reviewed
okay.
New Punjab.
Yeah,
yes,
why
that's
we
why it's on
counted
the
it.
blog.
Yeah,
Okay,
but this is our
okay.
first podcast review.
All right.
If you want to play
Okay.
technicalities,
I'll allow
commit.
it.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Yeah.
so, like, typically,
Well,
how
what
many?
was the best thing?
Damn it. No,
Yeah, now get him. That's
Okay.
fair enough.
You have time's up. Chicken tikka.
damn it, it was chicken tikka.
I thought with you it's prawn kolivada everywhere.
No, not everywhere.
You and
New
the
Punjab
chaat
New
masala.
Punjab is a famed tikka joint.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
damn
It's also
good.
the only non-veg joint in that entire vegetarian circle.
Oh, in Masala.
That's
Oh.
interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
No, there's that. I eat that 8-egg omelette, wrestler's omelette, each all
A
the time.
cooler.
At Kular.
Oh, right.
Cooler's
okay.
the other
So
side.
That's, yeah.
That's that lane
That
is pure
counts,
veg.
but yeah, but
You're
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
It's smack between Madras Cafe and like Mysore Cafe is New Punjab
and
with his.
you could
Yeah.
walk out and get a 7-Eleven softie.
Yeah. Also.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, those are the best.
Amazing.
Those
Yeah,
are
yeah.
fantastic.
That's a Matunga
That
secret.
street is amazing.
Yeah.
Dosa's, beer, and softies all in one walk.
Yeah.
So anything else in the last 6 months that you guys really like?
So actually, this place, he didn't review last time was what was the kebab called? That purple kebab that we got? There was one kebab that was marinated.
You're asking Karan to remember.
That's why I turned around.
Nazuk kebab.
Nazuk kebab.
Nazuk
Yeah,
kebab
it was
marinated in
marinated in beetroot.
Beetroot.
Oh, wow,
And
that's really creative.
We took Mazhar Ramzan Ali. Amit
yes.
knows him well.
Yes,
He's a
yes.
big foodie, so it's very hard
Where
to
was
impress
this
him.
again?
New Punjab.
Oh, okay,
New Punjab. Yeah.
And he's like, this was great. It was
But it-
really soft.
But it
Because
looked
it's a
really
tenderizer.
weird.
yeah,
right?
it looked a bit weird.
Because it was chicken that had been, marinated in beetroot. It looked very meaty,
Yeah.
because it went back
It
to
looked
that
like
color.
red meat.
But for once,
But it was really
didn't
good.
look like the color was applied, right? So it was, you could understand why it was not evenly purple. So it was okay. And it was nice. It was really tasty.
So, but typically it's like a lot of fried stuff. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you'll also like get the papad and all of,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Oh yeah, we
the-
pig out. We straight
Yeah.
pig out.
Yeah.
There's no.
Kichya papad is something that we always look for.
yeah,
Right.
that's what
makes
we
a
ate
great
at,
bar snack.
Think about it.
Shankari promised it, but we didn't
Vrindavan
get it.
Vrindavan.
in Kolaba.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shankari promised
Which
it,
is
but they
right,
let us down.
Right.
Which is
That's
right next to Leopold in the lane.
That was a
Yeah.
nice ketchup papad as
Yeah,
well.
that was a good one.
Would definitely make our
Yeah.
list too.
You know, this
Okay,
is, I mean, I think you guys have an amazing job because all of us, we go to dives. Food is a big part of it because you're going to a quarter bar. How much can the alcohol menu change, right?
No,
so
it doesn't
food is a
really.
big
It
part
doesn't.
of what you guys do.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Oh yeah.
and so your
it's the differentiator, ambience and food.
Yeah.
Because alcohol, well, some places throw like a cocktail away or something when we
Or
have
tequila
to, right?
shots.
Or
Right.
tequila shots sometimes.
Tune into
Oh,
those
tell us
episodes,
about the
guys.
cocktail. This is not just about food. Bombay
yeah.
Binge is about drinking as well.
Oh,
So,
good. Okay.
You know, tell
because
us about a
as soon as
cocktail.
I see cocktails, I get him.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's not
Right.
always
I know
you
that
find
Siddhant
cocktails.
is fond of the,
Pina colada.
the fruitiest.
Fruitiest possible cocktail.
Fruitiest, girliest cocktail conceivable.
Oh, okay.
It can be nothing but good for me.
Doesn't
you're
have,
the- you're
if
the
it doesn't have
Cosmo
sugar
guy.
syrup, 2 units, he doesn't want. He's not.
Yeah. No, I need it. I like, if they have a funky glass as well, I want that. I want an umbrella
He's
in there.
damn finicky about the glasses as well. He's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not in the proper glass.
Also, you know
I'll
whether
drink
it's supposed
it.
to be served in an old fashioned or a highball or.
I
It's
don't know
not a
I don't know the
margarita
names
glass.
like you do, but I know it should be like this.
It's a
I'm just
He's making a V sign right
Now
now.
it's just
medium,
listen.
Just he's making a
my
V
hands.
sign.
Yeah.
It should be like this. No, I just think that cocktails are amazing, and if you're going to drink for cheap, get cheap cocktails because they will destroy.
But you
Yeah.
know, the quarter bars and the ones who do cocktails, and there are not that many. I think 3 or
Yeah.
4 of them we've seen so far. For them, cocktails mean the amount of alcohol you put in them. They are not about the right mix or getting it balanced.
because
Yeah.
sugar syrup will take care of everything.
Yeah, so it's color, sugar syrup, and 2 alcohol. And if they're nice
Too
to,
large.
they've thrown in more alcohol. They're like,
Yeah.
sir, aapke liye isme zyada alcohol dala. That's all. That's their understanding of cocktails.
So
is that-
it's always a Long Island.
Not really.
You're not
Actually,
really
they don't
Or it
have
becomes
those.
one if
They
you
don't
tip
really
the
have
waiter
those.
enough.
They have those typical names,
Yeah, they'll have
sex
a
on the beach.
cosmopolitan.
Oh,
I always get a
Cosmopolitan.
cosmopolitan
And-
every
Yeah.
chance I
You do
get.
because he wanted this glass.
I want that glass. I want that one.
But you guys, where did you go where it took like a village to make a cocktail?
Yeah, that was Apurva, actually.
Apurva, yeah.
You guys know about that restaurant, so we won't have
Yeah,
to tell you
yeah.
about it. But this
That's
Purva
thing.
and Fort, guys.
to these guys, making stuff that isn't on the menu can either be a chore or the most fun thing they've ever done, especially if it's a slow day, because to them, they deal with the same crushing
Order.
customer that
Yeah.
orders the same
Yeah.
McDowell's diet and a soda and sits there quietly and maybe orders a peanut. So he has nothing to, they have nothing to do.
Yeah.
So when we come along and we act crazy and we're so excited to be at their bar, they kind of get a little energized.
Yeah, this
you
is
know?
an
Yeah.
opportunity for them to express their creativity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Creativity.
Creativity.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're
This
we're
is in your
sober.
shampoo.
We're sober.
Yes,
Yeah.
amazing.
We haven't
So
done
nice.
shows this
Okay.
morning, have we?
Guys, I have a very important question. How are y'all deciding on these bars? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so basically, if you live in South Bombay, they'll take you to Andheri East.
We like to torture our guests.
Which is what happened to the Daily Pao. I mean, I'm not South Bombay at all, but I was dragged to Kamal Chaya.
You were not trying to come at you were trying to Shankari.
But we started at Kamal
First
Chaya.
at Kamal Chai, then you had
This
to
is
go
true.
to Changi.
And then you became
One second.
Kamal
Then you became
Chai.
Kamal. You took on the
There's no
role.
reason to complain because when we first took him somewhere, it was right next to his house.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is
literally
fine.
walking distance from
That's
his
because
house.
I was like, so where are we going? Vadala. No, we're going to Gwalior Tank.
yeah. So you
Which
would
was
cry.
Maharaja at Gwalior Tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also the first time Amit Gurbaksani, or so he claims, stepped into a dance bar.
That's not
Totally
true. I
lie.
had stepped into a dance bar previously.
You have?
Yeah, yeah.
Professionally
There
or
you go.
to watch?
Secrets are tumbling out.
Yeah,
Secrets
I
are tumbling
stepped
out.
out about a
Okay.
second after.
There you go,
but-
podcast listeners.
My
you go.
question was, how do you all choose these bars?
Usually we get the guests to tell us where they hang out. We try and get a guest every episode. We've been quite successful recently.
Right.
And guests everybody has their bar and they take us to that bar.
Okay, so now Amit's gonna do a rapid fire.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you.
Would you like intro music for that? Because we have it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
We do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's in post.
Yeah.
You don't expect
We
to
don't
do
do
this
it.
now.
Yeah. No, I don't, because we're like, somebody's going to beatbox or do
Oh
something.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Don't
Yeah.
make Swash beatbox.
I won't.
Don't do it. Don't do
I'm
it.
going to name the bar. You're going to say what you recommended there. Okay?
Oh,
Aparna and Sayan.
Squid chili.
Damn it.
Yes.
10 points.
You get 3
You guys
seconds.
are playing
yeah?
a memory game with me.
Yacht.
here. This is just not fair.
Oh,
Don't
beef
eat there.
chili. Don't
Beef-
eat there. Yeah.
No.
But you recommended
Mutton,
something.
chili.
No.
Mutton
The
something.
beef chili.
Are
or
you
the-
lying to our readers?
I said beef
the
chili.
You said, you said.
My
Yeah, I said
recommendation
chili, I win
for
again.
your
So we
is
should
do not
lead
eat there.
2
losing.
is to 0-0.
Okay.
Lamba and Chembur.
The dal.
Dal makhani
Oh.
as the
Dal.
Who said
chakna.
that?
I said
Right,
dal. I said dal first.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
I said
dal.
I said
Yeah,
dal makhani
Dal
as
makhani.
chakna.
Sorry, Karan gets it.
Oh, I
Fine.
can't believe I got a point.
Fine.
Okay, quarter pillar.
Rosali kebab.
Yes.
We've
Oh, not bad. So
One
you're
second,
actually
you haven't
lead.
been to Quarter Pillar as a bar.
No,
That was a
that's
trick
true.
question.
Okay,
This is
that's-
failed.
that's-
No,
that's-
this was
that's
on the
right.
list. How
It
could you
was on the
recommend
list
something
of
you never
things we
actually
record.
eaten?
No, we
Well,
have.
we haven't
did it.
reviewed it, but
Okay,
we've been
we-
there
we did.
independently.
Yeah,
Okay,
we-
fine.
Fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is easy. Kit Kat.
Popcorn.
Butter masala popcorn.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
This is not
only
fair.
you need the
This is not
full.
fair.
You need the full name.
Here's
Yeah.
a story that butter masala popcorn is probably how Karan Masala Corner began.
Yeah,
That's actually
true.
true.
It was the first
Yeah.
time we went out, and then I
Okay.
ordered all these weird things, and they were like, "We should name this." And
I
then-
took Suresh aside and said, "Listen, we're not funny. He's damn funny. Let's just give him the section."
Okay, I'm going to ask you just one more so that maybe Karan can
Tie with
tie
Suresh.
with Suresh.
I'm already tied with
No,
him.
you aren't.
No, you aren't.
He's in the lead.
Yeah.
This is Cafe New York
Oh my
in
god.
Chapati.
This is so
Nobody
tough because we could
remembers.
eat anything on that menu.
Yeah, exactly.
Triple Szechuan.
Nachos.
Leave the best for last.
Triple Szechuan.
Crispy chicken.
Wrong.
Both of us are
Chicken
wrong?
chili.
Wrong again.
Well, we haven't done it again as a
Keema
review.
masala.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Keema
On the second
masala.
try.
Oh, yeah,
And
sure.
Suresh is the undisputed winner of Karan's Masala Corner. The irony.
Well, two of these places we haven't
Because
reviewed, and
Karan
Suresh
can't
just bumped
remember.
in there because he knows about it. So
Yeah,
that's
that's true. That's true. But
Well,
it's fine.
you
It's
wrote
fine.
it.
But I'm
so
very-
that's
It's fine. Finger first. I
did
just
write
didn't
the
have the
section.
full name, and I was gonna get them, but
I
Karan
have-
came in and
Okay.
swooped
I
my
have
points.
no memory, so I'm very happy that I got 2 points.
Fine. I lost.
So that was Bombay Binge. Thanks so much for being on our podcast.
Thanks for being
Thanks so much for
And
having
you
us,
can
guys.
check
Yeah,
out-
it was great.
You can
And-
check out The Adventures of Cheap Beer. Where all can you do that?
You can find us on on adventuresofcheapbeer.com. You can find us on your favorite
TheDailyPow.com.
Yeah, and the
dailypow.com.
dailypow.com.
Yes, of course. You can find us on your favorite podcasting app. You cannot find us on iTunes India. We are banned because although we've been very
We've been nice today.
non-profane
Good.
today, we're very
this
profane on the
is,
podcast.
PG-13
Banned on
version.
iTunes.
Yeah,
India.
and so we're banned on iTunes India, but if you just change the country or region, you can find us on iTunes US.
Excellent.
Thanks for being here, having us on stage.
Well, thanks for having us because we were on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you for being
technically.
there.
It's a belated
And
thank
We're going
you.
to do this again, I hope.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Check out that episode. By the way, they're on an episode called Shankari Bar. Check
Which
that
is,
one out.
Yeah,
Which
which
just
also
came out
has
on
Monday.
Pranati, by the way, who's missing in action.
She stepped out
She's-
because
She couldn't stand
it's a
us
small
anymore.
room and
She
she's
said,
like-
Well,
screw these
we
guys.
did an episode with 6 of us,
Yeah.
and after that she was like, "I'm just gonna step out."
Utter
Never
chaos
again.
that episode. My apologies in advance
So-
if you are younger or sensitive listeners.
So anyway, we'll be back with The Scene.
Hello there, my name is Naveen Narona, and as a gay person in India, I get asked a lot of stupid questions.
Beta, is it LGBT or eligibility?
How do two men procreate?
Bro, is Grindr better than Tinder or what?
We answer all these questions and much more on my podcast, Keeping It Queer, where I talk to individuals from the LGBT community in India and learn about their personal stories. Catch all the episodes on the IVM podcast app or any other podcasting app you like. Till then, keep it queer.
The Scene.
So in this episode, we're going to talk about how you can do a design trail through Kala Ghoda and Colaba. Now, both these neighborhoods are full of really interesting stores that reflect some sort of design. So it could be, shops like that, jewelry shops or clothes shops, or even, cafes that are interestingly designed. So Amit, do you wanna tell us?
Okay.
Give us your pick, Samit.
So, Kala Ghoda is often called the art district of the city, but it's also a really cool place to check out interesting design, because you can actually have a sort of tour of some of Bombay's most interesting design in like 5 minutes literally, because everything is in, basically the lane that you go in from Rhythm House. Rhythm House, of course, is shut. But there's stuff like, not only shops, but also cafes, like 2 really interesting cafes, Kala Ghoda Cafe and The Pantry, who not only serve good food, but also have really, they have really interesting aesthetic.
Even the Nutcracker, actually.
Yeah, the Nutcracker.
Yeah.
What I like about Kala Ghoda Cafe is that it's got this really distinct look. It's got these whitewashed walls, and it's got like these chairs, these stark white chairs
super
with
minimal.
sort of like with rounded edges.
Yeah.
Those chairs, by the way, have changed.
Oh, they've changed.
Yeah, so the new chairs are still white, but they're not boxy like they used to be. So those have changed.
So what are they like now? I actually haven't been there.
So they're white, but they're white metal, and they have some sort of cushioning, but they're not those
those
buckety chairs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has this sort of black, brown, and white aesthetic that's very European in a way.
Yeah.
Like in a lot of small cafes in Europe, you find cafes with a similar color scheme.
But it also looks really modern, right? That's I think what's interesting about it. As you go next door to The Pantry, where that has kind of like an old world charm, because they've got like these vintage Bharat tiles, these pattern tiles.
It's full of pastels.
Yeah, it's full of pastels, and it's got...
and it's got a slightly cutesy aesthetic, because they've got these knickknacks on the walls.
Yeah.
It's like being in an old person's kitchen. Sometimes I just feel like you're in somebody's, like an old,
Yeah, and they've got, actually, they're one of the many places in the city that have Tolix chairs, these very sort of distinct looking steel chairs, and that specific, it's called the Model A because it's sort of shaped like, like an A, the first part. And the reason why they're so popular is not only do they look really funky, and even though it was like, I think in the 60s or something designed, or maybe earlier, but they are stackable.
Okay.
So even though they look really great, you can very easily stack them, and I think that's why you
also
see them
very
everywhere.
Interesting, light switches and knobs. They've paid a lot of attention to detail. So Pantry and KGC are actually quite different, because Pantry has so many little elements, and KGC is so stark.
So stark, yeah.
And they both have excellent food as well. These are places that you'll find the Daily Pao team at very often, for work or just eating. Nutcracker is the other. Again, I think it's Bharat tiles as well at the Nutcracker, and there's a little bit of art there, a lot of little floral arrangements, very feminine looking space, this cheerful yellow on the walls. But very interesting. She has a communal table. Even in a small place, she's accommodated quite a bit.
And she uses a lot of wood, right?
A lot of wood, and then she has a little, like Kala Ghoda Cafe, she also sort of exhibits art sometimes photographs. So I think that for very, very tiny spaces, because that neighborhood has very small spaces, unless you're a Sabyasachi store or something, they've made such great use of, just minimal space.
Yeah. And speaking of Sabyasachi store, that's actually there, right? Down the road, actually.
Yeah, so I've actually been to the one before it relocated, which was also in Kala Ghoda, where artisans, in the same building as the Artisans Gallery, and it's a beautiful store. I'm assuming he's followed the same thing.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of it. It looks pretty much...
It's very sumptuous.
Yeah,
it's like being in a massive maroon boudoir.
Yeah, that's like these old Haveli rooms.
Yeah, but like
old lanterns, lamps.
The walls, I don't think there's any wall space that's uncovered. It's covered in like these decorative plates.
So it's very baroque.
These rugs, and I think then there's attar bottles everywhere.
And everything is very red inside, So it feels like you're on a movie set.
Right. So that's at Adore House, which is on the main K. Dubash Road. Yeah. But one store that I quite like is Filter.
Right.
Actually, Filter sells a lot of, seemingly useless things.
Yeah.
But
Like
you
a
just
lot-
want to buy them all.
You want to buy them because
But
they're so
they're
nicely,
great
they're
gifts,
pretty.
I think.
Yeah.
Like when I'm sort of stumped for a present, I think of Filter, and in Bandra there's Culture Shop, which is the Bandra equivalent, and it's a good eye. Whoever's curating it has a good eye for picking out things.
Yeah, the kind of stuff that they have
Prints, posters, bags, magazines.
They've got postcards
stationery.
with old New Yorker covers. They've got like tetrapods, the kinds you see on
And
Marine
also
Drive.
old print advertising.
They've
on-
got textile labels. You can buy framed textile labels.
Though I have to say that it's on the pricier side.
It is on
you
the
know,
pricier side, but then they've got these really cool notebooks which say exercise. Is it Shakespeare?
So that's
holding
my
a-
favorite notebook.
The
I have
Shakespeare.
Yeah, so I only I buy these notebooks and I just write things that I want to preserve. So it's got like a little Shakespeare wearing underpants, and so his body is small and his head is big, and he's holding dumbbells, and it says exercise book, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
So it's run by the folks. Who they run this design agency and ad agency just around the corner. So they're the guys who...
Is that Alok Nanda?
Alok Nanda Associates, that's
and
right.
he also has Rubber Band, right?
No.
That's not him.
No. So Rubber Band is purely industrial and product design.
Okay.
And so it's run by an industrial designer called Ajay Shah.
Ajay Shah,
Yeah,
okay.
and so they used
Ajay and Maithili, his wife as well.
Yeah, so she handles their marketing and their
and they
communication.
do really cool notebooks too.
They do very cool notebooks. So their notebooks are sort of like similar to Moleskines.
But with colored paper.
Yeah. So very nice notebooks, and recently they had this French artist called Nathalie Dupasquier. She was very big in France during the 1960s, and so they had a notebook collaboration. So very pop colored notebooks.
Do they still do it under Everyday Project? Is that still
Well, so
ongoing?
Everyday Project is not just notebooks; it's also their furniture. So they do a lot of very sort of brightly colored but very minimal furniture.
Also very they also do like I've seen these very utilitarian bags and like other accessories related to
so they source stuff from other design companies abroad. Like I remember once seeing this lamp that I really liked. It was essentially a massive bulb that you could stick to the wall. So like Danish and Dutch companies, they source a lot of stuff from there. But they're known to the public. Like most people know them for their notebooks.
And they're actually they used to be in Mahalakshmi. They're now in Regal.
At the Regal
and
building.
you mentioned accessories. Filter actually has this brand that you like, right? Called Mad Rabbit Kicking Tiger.
Mad Rabbit Kicking Tiger, which is I forget.
It's a New York-based brand, and they make bags.
And they're all they're made out of felt. And
they say vegan leather.
Okay.
So basically, it's faux leather.
Okay.
And they're again, very.
Again, very minimal, sort of
very minimal,
very geometric.
Very geometric, exactly. So there's no fuss to them, but they use very bright colors, and they're very hardy. So they survive for a good.
They also keep bags by Green, which is another very cool
local
accessories.
And by the way, they also keep tote bags by Samir Kulavur, who was on our last podcast.
Yeah, and they also keep the zine.
They keep the zine, yes.
Yeah.
And they keep, we said it's a really, nicely curated shop, and this is they also keep a really random selection of publications. So they have like music magazine, design publications,
they have Monocle, wallpaper,
really nice stuff.
all of that,
Again, it's pricey. So
it's pricey.
Well,
so if you have extra cash to burn,
but it's, to be fair to them, they're way less pricey than Obertaimu, which is again a beautiful store. But I'm always just window shopping there, even though I like.
But she's clothes. Obertaimu's clothes.
She
It's
also
clothes.
has
No, she does.
accessories.
She keeps like like books, and for example, the kind of stuff you'd find there's like maybe the Wes Anderson directory or something like that, or a cute pair of vintage sunglasses, just frames and stuff. So she's also picking stuff. Clothes is her mainstay. And what's interesting about her store is that there's a glass wall inside the store. It's a 2-level store, and so behind the glass wall you can see her tailors, and they're all dressed in white, and they're with sewing machines, so you can watch that. So I think it's very smartly designed.
It looks really nice.
It's almost like a show kitchen, like
yeah,
in a
exactly.
restaurant.
Like
Right.
and
right next door, there's the Bombay Shirt Company.
yeah.
Where you can go and make your shirts.
Yeah, her clothes,
Custom
over time's clothes are very nice, great. She uses some sort of super soft, organic, some fancy cotton, but yes, expensive, but a great store to check out if you're in the neighborhood.
And speaking of this whole minimal aesthetic, the folks behind Good Earth have started something called Nicoba, which is above Kala Ghoda Cafe. Again, on the pricey side, but
I think
really nice sort of nice fabrics.
Also,
nice,
I just like being in that store.
Yeah,
you know,
and
they have these.
Yeah,
there's a lot of pineapples are their sort of theme.
It's been designed really nicely.
Yeah, like,
it has been, but I do feel. Just to be slightly critical of it, I do feel the clothes are ridiculously pricey.
No, they are.
They're aiming to be
so.
sort of Good Earth light, with their pricing and with their designs, trying to reach out to a younger audience. But you know, those clothes are pretty pricey. It's like $6,500 for a very gauzy
but,
dress.
Just as a store, I was in that store and I was thinking of Purva, who is quite a hipster, and I saw a lot of her favorite things just scattered around there. Stuff like Hendrix Gin, Kinfolk magazine, and all these sort of like...
Yeah, those big showpiece pineapple tumblers that I've been also trying to get my hands on for a friend of mine and for myself.
The way it's been put together, it feels like somebody's house almost.
Yeah.
So, I think
we're also just talking about like what's interesting, like the way these places are done up. It's one thing what they're selling may not always be on point with their prices, or everything in that area has its own unique design,
which is nice, which is one of the pleasures of being in Kala Ghoda.
The idea of like doing a design trail is you can also see a really wide range of stuff. Like if you're really into the whole kitschy kind of aesthetic, you can go to Chambak, which is right at the start actually, right? It's before you walk into that lane, and that has the typical very bright kind of caricatures.
It's just
stuff.
Complete out there kitsch. Though they have some very interesting home
products
like
home
rugs, which are very popular, and stuff like that.
And they're actually well priced, so
But the one place that I really like in that area is Artisans, and Artisans is sort of a gallery space, and what they do is they invite designers and they invite NGOs to come and show their stuff there. Yeah. So they've had some fantastic exhibitions of clothes, most of them hand woven, but also really modern. Like they've got a whole bunch of designers who make hand woven clothes, using very traditional textiles but with very modern cuts, and it's sort of great that there's a place that's showing this stuff.
Exactly.
Most of these clothes are accessible online, and very often you hesitate to buy clothes online because you can't try it on. But this gives guys doing interesting things a venue. So
and they always have something on, which is a great thing. There's a lot of they do a lot of those clay and pottery.
The curators of clay.
Samir Kulavur's art show was held there, and even while his art show was on, they had a section cordoned off for like these traditional weaves and showpieces and jewelry. There's also Design Temple in Colaba.
So if you walk down Causeway and you turn left, there's Design Temple, which is run by Divya Thakur, and it's got like lots of really fun, nicely designed things,
bags, stationery,
home decor. They're really famous for their diaries.
I used to love their parrot diaries. I used to buy one every year, $1,000, which was really expensive then. I still find it very pricey. She has an online store as well, but they really sort of incorporate like a lot of sort of Indian terminology into
they have the theme, right? So there's a Kama Sutra one, there's an animal themed one.
My favorite thing there is that toilet paper, though I don't know how you can ever use it. It's like the
Draupadi
Vastraharan toilet paper, which seems slightly politically incorrect.
It's super politically
incorrect. But it's funny.
But speaking of that, they also have lingam shaped candles.
Wow. But I like their work. I think it's intelligent.
It's nice. It's a nice sort of cheeky, smart take on sort of Indian, putting Indianness into your design and sort of also being contemporary.
Yeah. So lots to check out there. If you're just even on a tour, pop into a board, which is just a
boutique hotel.
Boutique hotel.
Well, you
like
can't really pop it there, but you can go and pretend that you want to sort of book a room.
Well,
they have a
you
cafe,
can,
right?
they're very welcoming, so you can walk around, you can check the place out, and again, amazing tiles, and like the way they've mixed and matched tiles it's quite lovely, and the furniture and just the overall aesthetic. It's
so
probably
they have,
the nicest boutique hotel in Bombay.
So I think the cafe has like these bent put chairs that you see in Irani cafes. The walls have got those vintage textile labels again. They've got a lot of like religious posters. I mean, not posters,
kitsch,
but like sort of,
essentially calendar art.
Calendar art. But it looks really great. Now the rooms also have photographs of Bombay, street scenes of the city. They have like a claw-shaped bathtub in some of the rooms.
Right.
But it's what you love about that place is that it's so distinct. It feels like somebody has actually thought about this. They've saw stuff from the Chor Bazaar.
Yeah.
It's not like a clinical sort of a hotel which sort of just lacks any personality.
There's also Bungalow 8, which is way down.
That's in Church Street, actually. It's moved back to
okay, my bad. Yeah, I used to always go to the Colaba one, but right below abode there's another space. If you just want to see, there's Low 15 Cafe, which has been designed by Ayaz Basrai,
who's responsible for a whole bunch of stuff in the city.
Across the city.
He's got 145 next door.
So it's a nicely designed cafe. Check that out as well. But
also there was Bombay Electric, which recently shut down, which was
one of the best looking stores,
which had a really nice compound.
Yeah,
where they had like they used old TVs as planters and interesting stuff there. And but Good Earth, the original Good Earth, is there, and it's
a smaller store.
Smaller store than the biggest. I think the flagship
it's
is
right
in Lower
behind the Taj. I think it's just kept there for the Taj.
Just
for
like,
tourists who want to buy candles.
I think they do this everywhere. They've got one right next to the Palladium Hotel. They've got one, although that was there earlier. They've got one opposite Marriott, and this one is behind the Taj.
Which is a smart thinking.
Smart way to go. But again, Good Earth is that traditional sort of Indian motifs, if you want.
Mughal
inspired thing. And the most interesting thing that they've come up with recently is a colouring book for adults. And I've seen it. It's actually really nice.
Oh, it's one made in-house.
You know what?
It's
this is a separate episode by itself, colouring books for adults, because I know so many people who are hooked to colouring.
I read
colouring
this whole...
books. It's like the new hipster thing.
No, but there's a whole piece on New Yorker criticizing the whole trend.
But
and I have 5 colouring books, so
really
I'm part of this. It's not really therapeutic. It takes up a lot of time, but I really enjoy it. I've been colouring since I was a kid.
That's another discussion that we have to have.
Yeah, but with this book that they've come out with, I actually was looking at it, I was like, you know what? You can actually steal these designs and tell your sort of, you're a sofa maker or a curtain wala to sort of make some for you based on what and you can color them in your own colors. So,
so that's it for the scene. Go walk through Kala Ghoda and
a little bit of
Colaba. Yeah.
And we'll be back with Metro Station.
Are you confused about your future education options?
Not sure about whether you should be doing an MBA?
Or if design school is the right fit for you?
Are you worried about how you would finance your education?
Find answers to this and a lot more education-related topics on this podcast.
Hi, my name is Akhil Daswani. I'm the CEO and co-founder of OnCourse.
Hi, my name is Alisha Mashruwala. I'm the CEO and co-founder of OnCourse.
And we both are your co-hosts for the OnCourse podcast. Tune in every Monday on the IVM podcast app or any other podcast app you may like.
Metro Station.
So this episode on Metro Station, we're going to talk about a really interesting walk that Pranati and I did. It's, I don't know whether you'd call it a fun way to spend a Saturday night, but it definitely was an interesting one. What we did was we went on a walk through Kamathipura, which most people will know as the city's most famous red light district. And this was organized by Rahagir, right?
That's right. So it's a sort of just a group of people, not really a tour company, but a group of people that, conduct these walks around Bombay. And they call this a social walk because they wanted to highlight the situation of the sex workers and the homeless people who live there. And the walk was conducted in collaboration with an NGO called Pehchan, which is, raising funds to build a shelter for the homeless.
And their work primarily has been helping homeless people get IDs, because for a lot of government schemes you require an ID.
You require ration cards,
you require
and
ration
Aadhaar
cards
cards
and stuff like that. But you can only get that if you have some sort of address proof. Now, if you're a homeless person, you really don't have an address. So what this organization Pehchan does is help them through that process.
Right. So we started. So this was a night walk. So we started about 10 in the night. And we started opposite Bombay Central Station, and then we walked down Bellasys Road. And essentially, Kamathipura, it's a fairly tight neighborhood, and it has Bellasys Road on one side, and it has Falkland Road on the other. And
so is it, I've never been, but is it like one stretch of road? Is it like a continuous?
No, it's not. So there's a whole bunch of, it's a warren of lanes, Kamathipura, between these two, between Bellasys Road and Falkland Road.
Okay.
And just, tiny lanes like 11th Road, 9th Road, 1st Road. And the 1st Road is actually, it's called Safed Gully. It used to be called Safed Gully. Its official name was Shuklaji Street. And it was called Safed Gully because when Kamathipura came into being, so it came into being in the 18th century, right? So it has a long history as a red light district, but it was only in about the 19th century that it was truly cosmopolitan, So you have the sex workers who served, the colonists who served people who would visit Bombay, say dock workers, etc. And so you had a lot of Eastern European prostitutes, which is why that street is called Safed Gully, because they were white.
And this was also because their clients were white, right?
Their clients were white. You had a lot of Japanese prostitutes whose clients were Japanese. In fact, on Antop Hill, which has a lot of cemeteries, there used to be a cemetery for Jewish prostitutes who worked in Kamathipura, but that cemetery no longer exists.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was there was a huge Chinese population in Kamathipura. In fact, local historians like Rafiq Baghdadi and Deepak Rao, who we've spoken to time and time again for our stories, and who've sort of been to that area in the 50s, 60s and 70s, will tell you that they saw, these old Chinese gents smoking opium pipes on Shuklaji Street. That place it had many opium dens back when opium was legal. So it's really a fascinating area. Now you won't see too many Chinese. Like on Falkland Road, you'll still see about 2 or 3 Chinese dentists. Apparently, there were like lots of Chinese dentists for some reason. But now it's a fairly sort of, it's a really sort of, it's what you will see in Salam Bombay, in Miranair Salam Bombay. It's a really squalid area, and their life is on the street. So which is why the walk felt kind of intrusive, because it felt like you were walking through someone's home, and their home is the street.
Is the street,
Have they done these before? Is it just a new
I think they
project?
started this one like this month.
Okay.
Is probably when they started. But Kamathipura actually gets its name from the Kamathi community.
From the
right?
Kamathi communities, and these guys were sort of construction workers, and they would lay roads, etc.
And they're from
Andhra.
South, from
They're
Andhra.
from Andhra, yeah. Kamathis are from Andhra.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you were talking about how stuff has changed, but what has also changed in a drastic way is actually the whole commercial sex industry in the city and across the world, actually, where you have. A lot of this is no longer conducted on the street. It's conducted through things like WhatsApp and phones and the internet. So what you actually see in Kamathipura is the lowest of the low. Like the categories, we were talking about categories of sex workers. These are women who will probably, who will charge clients stuff like 200 rupees or something like that. And it's really kind of,
and the ones who don't have, don't have a room, they rent rooms by the hour. They rent beds by the hour. So those are, really, really cheap. Though Kamathipura has always been sort of the lowest of the low, like for, decades.
But what's happened recently also is because, Bombay being the place that it is and its population and every piece of real estate has become increasingly precious. You actually have towers now in Kamathipura, and a lot of middle class people are living there. And what they want to drive these guys out. And one of the guy from Pehchan, Brijesh, was telling me that apparently when the city center mall came up bang in the middle of that place, it's when it started attracting a lot of middle class people, and it sort of people who were hesitant to go to that area started coming there.
So you have a lot of middle class housing smack in the middle of
But
Kamathipura.
what about the sex workers themselves? Is there residential like for them?
So what they do is
it is residential.
Residential.
It is residential.
So what they do is that they have quite often some of them will have their own house for which they pay rent, and then they will also have the brothel where they work. So they have to rent actually 2 beds because they rent their where
they're not necessarily working out of their homes.
No, they're not necessarily working, but they're probably living close by somewhere.
Okay. But was there interaction on this walk?
Yes, there was actually interaction, a lot of interaction.
We spoke to a couple of sex workers and heard their stories. So a lot of them come from West Bengal. A lot of them come from the north, from Nepal. We spoke to a transgender sex worker who was from Nepal. In fact, there is one...
They willingly talk?
I think because these guys who had organized the walk had briefed them earlier.
Right.
So, now there are barely any of them left. Overall, there are about 1,000. And, the transgenders, we went... Apparently, there's a separate lane for transgenders.
And at one point, that entire lane was full of transgender brothels, but now there's just one.
Apparently, it was it was very brightly lit. It was filled with sounds of old Bollywood music from the 70s and 80s and stuff like that. And when we went by, it was just completely barren, and there was basically just 5 or 6 of them just sort of standing there.
What has changed? Has there been a crackdown or?
They have been, because one of the reasons is also because these stars are coming up and people want to drive them out.
Okay.
There's 2 reasons. One is the real estate reason,
and the nature in the industry, as we were mentioning earlier,
which has changed. And I suppose, there's a lot more awareness about sexual disease, etc. A lot more sort of police crackdowns, which is why a lot of the sex workers have moved to the peripheries of the cities, to places like Nalla Sopara,
and Bikroli and Ghatkupar and places like that. And I think the world over, this is you have this is kind of like a gentrification of Kamathipura that's happening, right? And you have with AIDS, of course, a lot of this entire industry changed, right?
Yeah.
There was. Now, like we said, this is the lowest of the low, and so among the people that we met, there was
It was Tasneema, this woman who had, her name is Salma. It was a fake name, actually.
You don't need to say her real name.
No, I'm not going to say her real name. But she's basically from UP, and she was, her family has no idea that she does this, and she came here, like all of them do, out of necessity, and she's in her 40s. And the reason she lives under an alias is that she doesn't want anyone from her hometown
She actually tells
looking for her.
her family that she works for an NGO.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
but what interestingly, a lot of the ones that we met, they all have families. They have husbands and they have children.
That's what I was going to ask. Because
they do have husbands and children.
But if they're living there,
but sometimes the husbands know what they do. Sometimes they have no idea what they do.
I see.
Especially if they live outside Bombay, then they send money back.
Okay.
But similar stories of violence, of domestic abuse, of husbands carrying on with other women. So lots of really sad stories.
And what's happening nowadays is apparently there's a police station right there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like this stuff is happening without the knowledge of the
they're
authorities.
complicit. Yeah,
Exactly.
of course. Yeah.
But what's happening to these guys is because you have a lot of these middle class folk. They were telling us that nowadays what happens is they have people in burqas who come and beat them.
Shoo them away. They don't want them to be on the street.
Because they don't want them to be there. They want to move them out because they want to sort of purify the area. And
so it's a sort of sustained
And the thing
harassment.
is, they can't even tell whether they're men or women, right? Because they're covered. So this is a sort of new scheme of violent sort of...
trying to sort of evict them from the area.
Yeah.
But they haven't tried approaching the police.
Well, again, this is the whole thing, right? The police are the ones who are sort of letting them do the thing.
I guess it's a catch-22
Yeah,
for them.
with the transgenders, actually, what we heard from Deepa, right, who runs
Deepa Nandi.
run the organization, she was telling us that she spoke to this lady this transgender, and who have like a guru, sort of the head.
Right.
Of the community who
that's a very sort of old hijra tradition.
Yeah,
you have a guru and
recently was offered 40 lakhs by a builder.
Is the guru like the pimp?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, well, maybe
sort of like the madam,
the madam
of the brothel.
Right. Okay.
So she was offered 40 lakhs by a builder to move out. of her brothel.
Yeah.
So she did that, and she's gone and moved to Nalasopara.
Right.
So now there's a new. This is Zeenat Pasha, and apparently Nisha Pasha is a new.
New guru.
But there is no sort of organization there, like you said, Pehchan or whatever. Are they not trying to? Is there any way that they can sort of help these people
there
against
this? There are a lot
of
organizations working in Kamathipura,
right.
Working to rehabilitate the children of prostitutes.
Yeah.
Also, just sort of working on health issues, because health is a huge problem, and all these sex workers, we were told, suffer from all kinds of illnesses. So there are a lot of organizations there. But I mean, it's a sort of dwindling. As Amit said, there's just like around 1,000, maybe a little more.
Yeah, and
than
there
that.
used to be like tens of thousands just back in the 90s. So,
But that's also, like you said, because the Kamathipura itself is shrinking because it's now turning more residential.
That's right. So, I mean, when you're at eye level, it looks the same. It's grey, it's squalid.
I mean, you wouldn't want to go there by yourself, right? It's
you
not
have
like
these towers.
I wouldn't say do this walk by yourself, and just
but where you can go by yourself is Falkland Road, which is also one side of Kamathipura, and that's a sort of more, aesthetic side, I would say, because of the old architecture, and also because Falkland Road has these old single-screen cinemas, like Alfred and New Roshan, Talkies.
Yeah, so that's it for the metro station.
And that's it for this week,
for this episode.
This fortnight.
If you like listening to the podcast, check out Geek Fruit, hosted by Uber geeks Tejas Menon and Jishnu Guha. This show talks about geek culture from an Indian perspective. Star Wars, comic books, science fiction and fantasy, TV shows and more.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.